The sleek diplomatic vessel approached Nexus Station, its engines humming quietly as it prepared to dock. Inside, Ambassador Ji-ho Kim adjusted his formal uniform one last time. His dark eyes were calm, but his heart beat faster than normal. Today would change the course of human history. "We are cleared for docking, Ambassador," said the pilot. Ji-ho nodded. "Thank you, Captain." He turned to his aide, Sumin Park, who was checking data on her tablet. "Are we ready?" Sumin looked up. Her face was serious. "As ready as we can. B. The briefing materials have been reviewed 4 times. Our gifts for the council members are prepared." She paused. "But I must tell you again, sir. Some of my contacts suggest we should be careful. The Veldari delegation has been speaking against humans in private meetings." Ji-ho smiled slightly. "That is why diplomacy exists, Sumin. To turn enemies into friends. And if they don't want to be friends," she asked, "then we make sure they respect us enough to leave us alone." Ji-ho gathered his materials. "Humanity has survived its own violent history. We will survive this too." The ship docked with a gentle thud. Ji-ho took a deep breath and straightened his shoulders. He carried the hopes of 8 billion humans with him. Nexus Station was enormous. Its central hub stretched 5 kilometers across, with 12 spokes extending outward to various docking areas, living quarters, and specialized facilities. It had been built 10,000 years ago by the founding members of the Galactic Council. Ji-ho and Sumin were led through wide corridors by their guide, a tall, blue-skinned being named Kelth from the Morrigan species. "The council chamber is at the center of the station," Kelth explained. "It has hosted peace treaties, trade agreements, and unfortunately declarations of war. Today is historic. The first time humans will address the full council." Ji-ho nodded politely, but he was studying everything around them. Other aliens moved through the corridors. Some looked almost human. Others were dramatically different. Floating gas clouds contained in special suits, insect-like beings that clicked as they walked, and creatures that seemed made of living crystal. "How many species are represented on the council?" Ji-ho asked. 12 hold full membership, Kelth replied. "Another 48 have observer status. Humanity would begin as an observer, of course." "Of course," Ji-ho said smoothly. But he had studied the council structure and knew that observer status often meant very little real influence. Some species had been observers for thousands of years. As they approached a massive doorway, Kelth lowered his voice. "A word of advice, Ambassador. The High Counselor of the Veldari, Thex, will likely question you harshly. Do not show weakness, but also do not challenge too directly. The Veldari have led the council for 8,000 years. "Thank you for the warning," Ji-ho said. He had dealt with difficult negotiators on Earth. How different could alien politics be? He would soon find out. The council chamber was circular, with tiered seating rising up from a central speaking platform. Ji-ho noted immediately that the highest seats belonged to the Veldari delegation. Their leader, High Counselor Thex, was tall and thin with pale gray skin and 6-fingered hands. His eyes were completely black with no visible pupils. Ji-ho stood on the speaking platform, Sumin 2 steps behind him. He began his carefully prepared speech. "Honored members of the Galactic Council, I bring greetings from Earth and the United Earth government. We come in peace and friendship, seeking to join the community of spacefaring civilizations." Ji-ho spoke for 20 minutes about human history, culture, and hopes for the future. He emphasized humanity's recent achievements in clean energy, medicine, and social harmony. He downplayed Earth's violent past, but did not hide it. "We bring several proposals for consideration," Ji-ho continued. "First, a cultural exchange program to help humans and council races learn about each other. Second, shared research initiatives in medicine and environmental science. And third, a proposal to modify resource allocation policies for new member worlds." At this last point, several council members shifted in their seats. Ji-ho had been advised against bringing up resource policies, but his research showed that newer council members received significantly less access to rare materials than founding members. This seemed unfair and inefficient. High Counselor Thex raised one six-fingered hand. Ambassador Kim, you propose changes to systems that have maintained peace for thousands of years. Systems you barely understand, having only recently discovered. Faster than light travel. Is this not presumptuous? Jiho kept his face calm. With respect, High Counselor, sometimes fresh eyes see possibilities that others miss. Our proposal would increase overall resource efficiency by 12%, while providing greater opportunity for developing worlds. Developing worlds, Thex repeated. His voice was cold. Yes, your species is certainly developing. We have studied your history, Ambassador. Until recently, you waged war on yourselves constantly. Your planet is still recovering from environmental damage, and now you come here to teach us? Several council members murmured in agreement. Others looked uncomfortable. Jiho stood his ground. We come to join and contribute, High Counselor. Humans have made mistakes, but we have learned from them. Perhaps our hard-won wisdom has value precisely because of our difficult path. Thex stared at Jiho for a long moment. Then he stood abruptly. This session is adjourned. The council will consider the human proposals in private discussion. As the council members filed out, Su-min stepped closer to Jiho. That felt hostile. She whispered. Yes, Jiho agreed. But I also saw interest from at least 4 delegations. We need allies here. Kelth approached them. You have been assigned quarters in the diplomatic section. I will show you there. As they walked, Jiho noted that some aliens now avoided looking at them, while others seemed overly interested. Is this normal after a first presentation? Jiho asked Kelth. Kelth hesitated. The Veldari rarely show such open and concern about a new species. But do not worry. The council moves slowly. Discussions may continue for months. That night, Jiho reviewed his notes while Su-min monitored communications from Earth. Their quarters were comfortable but simple, 2 bedrooms, a common area, and a food preparation station adapted for human needs. Ambassador, Su-min said suddenly, I've detected unusual security movements in this sector. 4 guard patrols have passed our door in the last hour. Jiho frowned. That seems excessive. A soft chime indicated someone at their door. Jiho stood to answer it, but Su-min gestured for him to wait as she checked the security feed. It's Kelth, she said, looking relieved. Jiho opened the door. Kelth entered quickly, looking around nervously. Ambassador, you must listen carefully, Kelth said in a low voice. You are in danger. Your resource proposal has frightened the Veldari more than you know. They maintain power by controlling resource access. Several council members who seemed interested in your ideas have received threats. Threats? Jiho was shocked. Is this how the council operates? Not officially, Kelth said. But the Veldari have maintained control for millennia. They do not surrender power easily. He handed Jiho a data chip. This contains secure communication codes for those who might support you. You should... A loud explosion rocked the corridor outside. The lights flickered and went out, replaced by dim emergency lighting. The door to their quarters was blown inward. 6 figures in environmental suits rushed in. Jiho recognized the designs as Veldari military gear. They carried weapons. Run, Kelth shouted, pushing Su-min toward the emergency exit in the back of their quarters. Jiho moved to follow, but 2 of the intruders grabbed him. He fought back, breaking free momentarily, but a 3rd attacker hit him with some kind of electrical weapon. Jiho fell to his knees, his muscles spasming. Go, he shouted to Su-min, who hesitated at the exit. Tell Earth what happened here. The last thing Jiho saw before losing consciousness was Su-min disappearing into the maintenance tunnel, and Kelth falling under the attacker's weapons. The future of human-alien relations had just taken a terrible turn. The emergency lights in the maintenance tunnel flashed red. Su-min Park crawled through the narrow space, her heart pounding. Behind her, she could hear the sounds of the attackers searching. She had to get away. She had to tell Earth what happened. Su-min had memorized the station maps before their arrival, a security precaution that now might save her life. She knew the maintenance tunnels connected to the communication hub 3 levels down. If she could reach it, she might be able to send a message home. As she crawled, she activated her wrist computer. It had automatically recorded the attack. The images were clear. Veldari military forces taking Ambassador Jiho. This was not a random crime. This was an act against humanity by a council race. After an hour of careful movement through the tunnels, Su-min reached a small access panel. According to her map, this would open near the communication hub. She listened carefully before pushing it open. The corridor was empty. Most station residents were asleep at this hour. Su-min slipped out and closed the panel behind her. She straightened her wrinkled uniform and walked purposefully toward the hub, trying to look like she belonged there. Inside the communication hub, a few technicians from various species worked at their stations. None of them were Veldari. Su-min approached a technician who looked somewhat like a humanoid turtle. "I need to send an emergency message to Earth," she said quietly. The technician looked up. Identification. Su-min showed her diplomatic credentials. "Assistant to Ambassador Jiho Kim, this is an emergency." The technician hesitated, then nodded. "Booth 3 is private. You can use that." Su-min thanked him and hurried to the booth. She entered Earth's secure communication codes and began recording her message. She attached the video of the attack and sent it directly to Admiral Taewon Choi, Earth's military leader. Just as the transmission completed, alarms began to sound throughout the station. A voice announced in multiple languages, "Security alert. Human diplomatic staff should report to Central Security. Repeat. Human diplomatic staff should report to Central Security." Su-min knew this was a trap. She slipped out of the communication booth and back into the corridor. She needed to hide and wait. Something terrible was happening, and she was the only human witness. Admiral Taewon Choi sat in the darkened command center of Earth Defense Headquarters. Around him, military officers and government officials watched the transmission from Su-min Park in shocked silence. "Play it again," Admiral Choi said, his voice tight with controlled anger. The large screen showed the attack on the human quarters. It showed Ambassador Jiho being taken. Then the image changed to what Su-min had recorded just 1 hour ago. She had hidden in an air duct above a large chamber. Below, the full Galactic Council had gathered for an emergency session. In the center of the room stood Ambassador Jiho, held between two Veldari guards. His face was bruised, but his back was straight. He stood with dignity even in chains. High Counselor Thex addressed the council. "Esteemed colleagues, we have called this emergency session to address a serious security breach. The human ambassador has been caught attempting to sabotage the life support systems of Nexus Station." Several council members looked surprised. One, a crystalline being, spoke up. "This is a serious accusation. What evidence do you present?" Thex gestured, and a holographic display showed technical diagrams. "Our security forces discovered the human in a restricted area near the primary oxygen processors. He had disabled 2 safety systems and was attempting to access the main controls." "That is a lie," Jiho said clearly. His voice carried through the chamber. "I was taken from my quarters by armed Veldari soldiers. I have not been near any life support systems." "Silence," Thex ordered. "The evidence is clear. The human represents a species that has a history of violence. They came to our council with demands to change our ancient systems. When denied, they resorted to sabotage. I request a full investigation," Jiho said. "Under council law, any accused has the right to present evidence in their defense." Some council members nodded in agreement, but Thex raised his hand. "In cases of terrorism threatening the entire station, emergency protocols apply. The High Council race may implement summary judgment." "This is not justice," Jiho said. "This is fear. You fear humans not because we are violent, but because we represent change. You fear losing your control." Thex's black eyes narrowed. "The human continues to show disrespect for our laws and traditions. We must make an example to ensure that humanity understands their place in the galactic hierarchy." He pressed a control on his podium. From the floor of the chamber, a transparent cylinder rose around Jiho. The guard stepped back quickly. 3. Ancient punishment of the purifying flame will be applied, Thex announced. "Let all witness the consequences of threatening the council." Several council members stood in protest, the crystalline being called out. "This is excessive. We have not used the flame in 10,000 years." But Thex ignored them. He activated another control. Inside the cylinder, Ambassador Jiho remained calm. He looked up at the hidden camera where Suman was recording, somehow knowing she was there. He spoke clearly, his last message to humanity. "Remember who we are, not what they make us do." Then the cylinder filled with blue fire. The recording ended. In the darkened command center on Earth, no one spoke for several minutes. Finally, Admiral Choi stood up. "Contact the President," he said, "and issue recall orders to all Earth ships. Every vessel is to return to the Sol system immediately." For 24 hours, Earth was silent. No official statement was made. No news was released. But people knew something had happened. Military ships suddenly appeared in orbit. Defense systems were activated. Civilian space traffic was redirected to secure areas. President Min-Ho Lee finally addressed the planet from the United Earth Government headquarters. "Citizens of Earth. Yesterday we received disturbing news from Nexus Station. Ambassador Jiho Kim was falsely accused of sabotage by members of the Galactic Council. Without a fair trial or proper evidence, he was executed." Gasps filled the government chamber. President Lee continued, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "Ambassador Kim's final message to us was recorded by his brave aide Sumin Park, who remains in hiding on Nexus Station. His words were, 'Remember who we are, not what they make us do.'" The president paused, looking directly into the camera. "Must now decide who we are as a species and what we will do. I have called an emergency session of the United Earth Government to consider our response. But know this, humanity will not bow to tyranny among the stars. We did not journey into space to become subjects. We came as equals, offering friendship. That offer was not just rejected, it was burned away before our eyes. Across Earth, people gathered in homes, in public squares, and in places of work. They watched their leaders debate humanity's future. The debate was brief. The vote was unanimous. Earth would go to war. In a secure room deep under the government building, Admiral Choi met with his top commanders. Star maps covered the walls, showing the territories of all council races. "The Galactic Council outmatches us in territory, population, and total fleet size," Admiral Choi explained. "But they have weaknesses. They have lived in relative peace for thousands of years with the Veldari keeping control. Their ships are built for show and transportation, not battle." He pointed to the human fleet formations. "Our ships are different. We designed them remembering our own violent history. We built them to fight and survive." Captain Junho Kang, Earth's most decorated naval officer, studied the maps. "The Veldari will expect us to attack in anger without planning. They think they understand humans based on our past." Admiral Choi nodded. "They understand our capacity for violence. They do not understand our capacity for strategic thinking." He handed Captain Kang a data tablet. "You will command the First Strike Fleet. Your orders are on this tablet directly from the President." Captain Kang read the orders carefully. "These are not instructions for blind revenge," he said with some surprise. "No," Admiral Choi replied. "They are instructions for justice. Ambassador Jiho would expect nothing less from us." As military preparations continued, a secure signal was detected coming from Nexus Station. It was from Sumin Park. "I am not alone," her message said. "There are council members who opposed what happened. They want to help us. They say others will join if we move against the Veldari." The path ahead was becoming clear. Humanity would not just fight a war. They would lead a revolution. The United Earth Government building stood tall in the center of New Geneva. Its circular main chamber was filled to capacity. Representatives from every nation sat in tiered seats facing the central podium. The mood was somber. Today would shape the future of humanity. President Min-Ho Lee called the emergency session to order. "Representatives of Earth, we face the gravest decision since the formation of our united government. The execution of Ambassador Jiho Kim demands a response." "Echo," murmur went through the chamber. Everyone had seen the recording. The image of their ambassador burning alive had been seared into the collective memory of humanity. Before we discuss our options, the president continued, we have a witness who has just returned from Nexus Station. She brings critical information. Sumin. Park entered the chamber. She walked steadily to the podium, though her face showed exhaustion. She had escaped on a maintenance vessel, evading Veldari patrols through 3 star systems before reaching Earth. Representatives of humanity, Sumin began. What you saw in the recording was not a mistake or a misunderstanding. It was a deliberate act by the Veldari to keep humanity submissive. She activated a holographic display. It showed data and images she had gathered during her escape. The Veldari have controlled the Galactic Council for over 8,000 years. They maintain power through fear and manipulation. Any species that challenges their authority is either intimidated into silence or destroyed. The display showed historical records of other species that had vanished from Council records. Entire civilizations erased. Ambassador Kim proposed resource reforms that would have reduced Veldari control. That alone made him a target. Sumin's voice remained steady, but her hands trembled slightly. He was murdered not for what he did, but for what he represented. A humanity that would not bow to tyranny. A representative from the African Union stood. Are you suggesting the entire council is corrupt? No, Sumin replied. Many council members were horrified by what happened. Some tried to help me escape. But they are afraid. The Veldari have weapons that can destroy entire worlds. They have used them before. The chamber grew quiet as the implications became clear. Humanity was not just facing an injustice. They were facing a threat to their existence. Defense Minister Han rose next. Did Ambassador Kim know the danger he was placing himself in? Sumin nodded. He received warnings, but he believed peaceful cooperation was possible. He believed most species in the galaxy wanted the same things we do: security, prosperity, and freedom. And was he wrong? President Lee asked. No, Sumin said firmly. He was right, but he underestimated how far the Veldari would go to maintain control. And now we must decide what to do next. Admiral Choi stepped forward to present the military assessment. Holographic star maps appeared above the chamber floor, showing the territories of all council races. The Galactic Council consists of 12 full-member species, controlling approximately 20% of the Milky Way galaxy, he explained. Their combined fleet size is roughly 50 times larger than ours. Their technology is, in most areas, more advanced. Concerned voices rose from the representatives. Admiral Choi raised his hand for silence. However, there are important factors in our favor. First, the council races have lived under Veldari domination for millennia. Their military forces have grown complacent. Second, their ships are designed primarily for trade and diplomacy, not warfare. He zoomed in on the human fleet formations. Our ships are different. We designed them remembering our own violent history. Our vessels have redundant systems, powerful shields, and effective weapons. More importantly, our tactics and training are superior. Council races rely on overwhelming force. They have forgotten the art of strategy. Captain Junho Kang, newly appointed commander of the First Strike Fleet, joined Admiral Choi at the display. He was a tall man with a serious face and gray at his temples. I have studied all available information on Council military capabilities, Captain Kang said. They outmatch us in numbers, but not in fighting ability. Their coordination between species is poor. Their command structure is rigid. These are weaknesses we can exploit. A representative from South America stood. Are you suggesting we can win a war against the entire Galactic Council? No, Captain Kang replied honestly. Not against the entire Council. But according to Sumin Park's intelligence, many council races are potential allies. They resent Veldari control. If we show strength and restraint, they may join us. President Lee returned to the podium. His face was grave but determined. We now face a choice no species should have to make: submission or survival. If we do nothing, The Veldari will eventually find a reason to destroy us. If we act rashly, we risk becoming what they already claim we are, violent warmongers. We must find a path that preserves both our lives and our principles. He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of representatives from around the world. We came to the stars in peace. We extended our hand in friendship. In return, our voice was silenced in fire. I believe we must respond with strength, but not with blind revenge. We must seek justice not just for Ambassador Kim, but for all species oppressed by the Veldari. The chamber was silent as the president's words sank in. Then one by one, representatives began to stand. The vote was taken. It was unanimous. Earth would not bow to tyranny among the stars any more than they had on their own world. In the orbiting shipyards above Earth, activity was constant. Workers moved in spacesuits between massive vessels. Supply ships carried materials and weapons. The first strike fleet was being prepared for war. Captain Kang stood in the observation deck of his flagship, the HFY Justice. The vessel was the pride of Earth's Navy, fast, well-armed, and equipped with the latest technology. Through the viewport, he could see 20 other warships in formation. Admiral Choi joined him, looking out at the fleet. "Your orders are confirmed by the United Earth Government," he said, handing Kang a sealed data chip. Kang inserted the chip into his tablet and read carefully. "These are precise orders," he noted. "Secure the approach to Earth. Establish contact with potential allies. Bring the council leaders responsible for Ambassador Kim's murder to justice. Not revenge," Admiral Choi emphasized. "Justice. There is a difference." "I understand," Kang said. "And the rules of engagement?" "Minimum force necessary. No civilian targets. We will not become what the Veldari claim we are." Admiral Choi turned to face Captain Kang directly. "You were chosen for this command because you understand the difference between winning battles and winning wars, between vengeance and justice." Kang nodded. He had fought in Earth's last regional conflict, where he had become known for protecting civilian populations even at tactical disadvantage. "I will not forget who we are," he promised. Outside, the final preparations were being completed. Crews boarded their ships. Weapon systems were checked. Navigation routes were plotted. Within the HFY Justice, Captain Kang assembled his command staff. He distributed mission parameters and assignments. His officers were the best Earth had to offer, not just skilled but thoughtful. They would need both qualities in the days ahead. "Our mission is clear," Kang told them. "We will demonstrate humanity's strength, seek allies among the council races, and bring those responsible for Ambassador Kim's death to justice. We will show the galaxy that humans are neither savages nor sheep." One of his officers, Commander Ji-un Ryu, asked, "And if we meet heavy resistance? If the Veldari bring their full fleet against us?" Captain Kang's face was calm but determined. "Then we will fight with all our skill and courage. But we will never forget our purpose. We do not seek to replace one tyrant with another. We seek a galaxy where all species can live in freedom and dignity." As the briefing ended, Earth's representatives sent a final message to their military forces. It came from President Lee himself. "You carry with you the hopes of humanity. Show the galaxy not just our strength but our wisdom, not just our power but our compassion. Remember Ambassador Kim's final words. Remember who we are, not what they make us do." The first strike fleet departed Earth orbit the next day. Millions watched as the ships accelerated away from their home world, their engines blazing against the darkness of space. Humanity had made its decision. The response to tyranny would not be submission, but neither would it be blind destruction. It would be a calculated demonstration of strength guided by principles. The galaxy was about to discover who humans truly were. The first strike fleet moved through space in perfect formation. 21 warships led by the HFY Justice traveled at high speed toward the edge of human territory. Captain Junho Kang stood on the bridge of his flagship watching the stars streak by on the main view screen. "Status report," he ordered. His second-in-command, Commander Ji-un Ryu, checked her console. All ships at optimal performance, Captain. We will reach the border checkpoint in 4 hours. The border checkpoint was a small station marking the edge of human space. Beyond it lay the territories controlled by various council races. It was humanity's front door to the galaxy, and now it would become the first line of defense. Any activity from council forces? Kang asked. Nothing unusual, sir, replied the sensor officer. Regular trade ships and patrols only. They don't seem to be expecting us. Kang nodded. This matched their intelligence reports. The Veldari were confident in their power. They did not believe humans would respond with force to Ambassador Kim's execution. They thought fear would keep Earth submissive. They will learn otherwise, Kang said quietly. As the fleet continued its journey, an alert sounded from the communication station. Captain, called the communications officer, we're detecting 3 vessels approaching from Sector 7. They're not following regular travel routes and they're moving fast. The main screen shifted to show 3 ships of different designs. They were clearly not human vessels. Are they council ships? Kang asked, tension rising on the bridge. The sensor officer worked quickly. Confirmed, sir. Design patterns match Tellarite, Morrigan, and Kesh vessels. All are diplomatic-class ships, not warships. They're broadcasting on an open frequency. They're requesting to speak with the fleet commander. Kang exchanged glances with Commander Rio. This was unexpected. These 3 species were full council members. What were they doing approaching a human fleet? Shields up, Kang ordered. Weapons on standby but not locked. Put them on screen. The view screen changed to show 3 beings. One was blue-skinned with ridge-like features, a Morrigan. Another appeared to be made of living crystal, a Kesh. The third had reptilian features, a Tellarite. The Morrigan spoke first. I am Kelth of the Morrigan Confederation. We come under a flag of truce. We wish to speak with you about recent events at Nexus Station. Kang recognized the name. Kelth, you were the guide who helped Ambassador Kim and his aide. Yes, Kelth replied. I was wounded in the attack but survived. Many council members were horrified by what happened to your ambassador. The Veldari have maintained control through fear for too long. Some of us are ready to stand against them. Kang considered his options. This could be valuable information, or it could be a trap. Permission to dock with the Justice will be granted, he finally said. But you will submit to security scans, and your ships will remain at a safe distance from our fleet. The 3 representatives agreed to these terms. Their small diplomatic vessel separated from their ships and approached the Justice. In the Justice's conference room, Captain Kang and his senior officers met with the 3 council representatives. Security guards stood at the doors. The visitors had been thoroughly scanned for weapons or communication devices. Kelth spoke for the group. What happened to Ambassador Kim was a crime against all principles of justice. Many council races want no part in the Veldari's actions, but they have controlled us through fear for millennia. The crystalline being, who had introduced herself as Ilan of the Kesh, added, The Veldari possess weapons that can destroy entire worlds. They have used them before against species who defied them. This is how they maintain control. And yet you have come to us, Kang noted. Why risk yourselves? The Tellarite, named Drav, leaned forward. Because your ambassador showed us something. We had forgotten. Courage. He stood before the council and spoke truth to power. He did not bow to intimidation. Kelth nodded. His death has caused more disruption than the Veldari expected. Many races are questioning their leadership for the first time in thousands of years, but they need to see that the Veldari can be opposed successfully. They need hope. Commander Ryu, who had been quiet, finally spoke. What exactly are you offering? Alliance, Kelth said simply. The Tellarites, Morrigan, and Kesh stand with humans against Veldari oppression. We bring intelligence about Veldari fleet movements and defense systems. We offer our own ships to fight alongside yours. Ilan's crystalline form shimmered as she added, More importantly, we know of other races, some on the council, others subjugated by the Veldari, who will join us if given the chance. Captain Kang looked at each alien representative carefully. How do we know this isn't a trap? The Veldari could have sent you to learn our plans or lead us into an ambush. Drav laughed, a harsh sound. A fair question. Trust must be earned. We bring proof of our sincerity. He placed a data crystal on the table. This contains the command codes for Veldari defense platforms near Nexus Station. With these, you could disable their weapons without firing a shot. Kelth added, we also bring the location of a secret Veldari outpost where they are developing new planet killer weapons. This information would be worth our lives if the Veldari learned we had shared it. Captain Kang had the information transferred to a secure system for analysis. He dispatched Commander Ryu to verify it while they continued discussions. Admiral Choi received the transmission from the Justice with concern. Captain Kang had met with representatives from 3 council races claiming to want alliance. The information they provided needed verification. Director Yoon, Choi called to the head of Earth Intelligence. I need your team to analyze this data immediately. Director Hana Yoon was a small woman with sharp eyes that missed nothing. Her intelligence network had agents throughout human space. If anyone could verify the aliens' claims, she could. We'll need at least 12 hours for preliminary verification, she said, already organizing her team. Those 12 hours were tense. If the information was false, the First Strike Fleet might be heading into a trap. If it was genuine, the entire strategy of the war could change. Finally, Director Yoon presented her findings to Admiral Choi and President Lee. The information is genuine, she reported. We've verified the Veldari defense codes against our own intelligence. The location of the secret weapons facility matches unusual energy readings we detected, but couldn't explain. She showed them additional data her team had gathered. More importantly, we've intercepted communications between Veldari commanders. They're concerned about council traitors who have disappeared. The timing matches when these representatives left to meet our fleet. President Lee considered this information carefully. So they are telling the truth about wanting alliance? But can 3 species make a difference against Veldari power? More than 3, Director Yoon corrected. Our analysis suggests at least 5 other council races are ready to break from Veldari control if they see a viable alternative. And there are dozens of subjugated worlds that would welcome liberation. Admiral Choi nodded thoughtfully. What began as humanity standing alone could become a revolution against millennia of oppression. Back on the Justice, Captain Kang received confirmation from Earth. The alliance was approved. The 3 representatives were genuine in their offer. Kang met with them again, his attitude now more open. My government has verified your information. We accept your alliance. Now we must plan our next steps carefully. Kelth smiled, showing teeth that were slightly sharper than human ones. The Veldari expect humans to attack in blind rage. They do not expect a coordinated effort across multiple species. Each of our races brings unique strengths, Elon said. Her crystalline voice chimed like bells. The Tellarites have advanced shielding technology that can withstand Veldari weapons. Drav nodded proudly. Our shields will protect your ships from their first strikes. The Morrigan contribute our sensor arrays, Kelth added. We can detect Veldari ships even when they use stealth fields. And we, Kesh, Elon finished, offer biological countermeasures against Veldari telepathic attacks. They use mind influence on their enemies. We can block these attempts. Captain Kang was impressed. With these advantages, the combined fleet would have a real chance against Veldari forces. We will integrate your ships into our battle groups, he decided. Commander Ryo will coordinate tactical planning. As the meeting concluded, Kang had a final question. What made you choose to stand with humans? You barely know us. Kelth answered seriously. Your ambassador showed dignity even in chains. Your aide risked her life to record the truth, and your response has been measured, seeking justice, not blind revenge. These are the actions of a species worthy of alliance. The combined fleet departed the next day. Human vessels flew alongside ships from 3 council races. Their message was broadcast on all frequencies throughout council space. We come for justice, not vengeance. Stand with us or stand aside. What had begun as humanity's response to a terrible crime was becoming something much larger. the first real challenge to Veldari rule in thousands of years. The galaxy watched and waited to see what would happen next. Nexus Station appeared on the main view screen of the UES Justice. The massive space station looked peaceful from a distance, its 12 spokes extending from the central hub like a giant wheel in space. Captain Junho Kang knew that appearances were deceiving. The station was now heavily defended by Veldari warships. Tactical assessment, Kang ordered. Commander Ji-un Ryo studied her display. 37 Veldari vessels in defensive formation around the station. Their weapons are powered and shields are active. They know we're coming. The bridge crew worked calmly despite the tension. The combined fleet had grown during their journey. 3 more council races had joined them after seeing the strength of the human-led alliance. Their fleet now numbered 63 ships of various designs and capabilities. "Open a channel to all allied vessels," Kang said. When the communication was ready, he spoke clearly. "This is Captain Kang of the UES Justice. We have arrived at our primary objective. The battle plan remains unchanged. Remember, our goal is justice, not destruction. Protect civilian areas of the station at all costs. May fortune favor the brave." Acknowledgements came from the other ships. The fleet moved into attack formation with human vessels leading each battle group. The Tellarite ships with their advanced shields took forward positions. Morrigan sensor ships spread throughout the formation to detect any hidden Veldari vessels. "The Veldari are hailing us," reported the communications officer. "On screen," Kang ordered. High Counselor Thex appeared on the view screen. His black eyes showed no emotion, but his voice was cold with anger. "This is foolishness," Thex said. "You cannot hope to defeat us. The Veldari have ruled the Council for 8,000 years. Your primitive fleet will be destroyed." Kang's face remained calm. "We do not come to rule, High Counselor. We come for justice. Surrender those responsible for the murder of Ambassador Kim, and we can avoid bloodshed." Thex laughed, a harsh sound. "You speak of justice while bringing warships to our sacred council station? No, human. Today you will learn your place in the galaxy." The transmission ended. Moments later, the Veldari fleet began to move. "They're forming attack groups," Commander Ryo reported. "Standard Veldari tactics. They'll try to overwhelm us with superior numbers." Captain Kang nodded. "This was expected. Implement Battle Plan Sigma. Let them think we'll meet them head-on." The Allied fleet adjusted its formation, appearing to prepare for a direct confrontation. The Veldari ships accelerated toward them, weapons charging. At the last moment, Kang gave the real order. "Execute flanking maneuver now." The human ships and their allies suddenly changed course, splitting into smaller groups that moved with unexpected speed and coordination. Instead of meeting the Veldari head-on, they slipped between their formation, targeting command and control systems rather than attempting to match the Veldari in direct firepower. The Veldari were caught by surprise. Their rigid formations broke apart as they tried to adjust to the human tactics. Their ships were powerful but less maneuverable than the human vessels. "First objective achieved," reported Commander Ryu. "We've disrupted their formation and isolated their command ships." The battle unfolded across the space around Nexus Station. Veldari vessels fired powerful energy weapons, while human ships responded with precision strikes against engines and weapon systems. The Tellarite shields proved their worth, absorbing attacks that would have destroyed other vessels. On the station itself, confusion reigned. Many residents watched the battle from observation decks, amazed to see Veldari ships being outmaneuvered by the combined fleet. Thex, watching his forces struggle, made a desperate decision. "Target the civilian sections of the station," he ordered his captains. "The humans care about protecting innocents. This will slow their advance." When Kang received this intelligence from Morrigan sensors, he acted immediately. "Deploy special forces teams to the station. Evacuate all civilians from threatened areas." Commander Ji-un Ryo led the special forces teams personally. Small, fast shuttles launched from the human ships, protected by fighter escorts. They docked with the station at multiple points. Ryo's team moved efficiently through the station corridors, directing civilians to safe areas. They encountered some Veldari security forces but overcame them quickly. "This is Commander Ryo of the Earth Fleet," she announced over the station's communication system. "All non-combatants should proceed to evacuation shelters in sectors 3, 5, and 9. We are here to ensure your safety." This action, broadcast across all channels, had an unexpected effect. 3 more council races that had remained neutral suddenly changed sides. Their ships moved to join the human-led fleet, turning the tide of battle decisively. While the battle raged outside, Sumin Park led a small team through the maintenance tunnels she knew well. She had insisted on joining the mission, arguing that her knowledge of the station was invaluable. "The Council's communication hub is through here," she told her team. "If we can capture it, we can broadcast the truth to every world in Council space." Their path was blocked by Veldari guards, but Allied forces distracted them long enough for Sumin's team to slip through. They reached the communication hub and quickly overwhelmed the technicians inside. "Begin the transmission," Sumin ordered, inserting a data crystal into the main console. "Send it to every world, every ship, every communication device in Council space." The crystal contained the unaltered records of Jiho's execution and the falsified evidence against him. It also contained proof of other Veldari crimes against member worlds over centuries. The truth that had been hidden for thousands of years was finally revealed. Within days, the Veldari hegemony collapsed as their subject worlds revolted. Council races that had feared the Veldari for millennia found courage to stand against them. High Counselor Thex was captured attempting to flee to a hidden stronghold in his personal vessel. When Thex was brought before Captain Kang, he expected immediate execution. Instead, Kang surprised him. "You will face trial," Kang informed him. "With evidence, witnesses, and the right to defend yourself, the very things you denied Ambassador Kim." Thex's black eyes widened slightly. "You would show mercy? After what I did?" "Not mercy," Kang corrected. "Justice. There is a difference. Humans do not burn their enemies alive, no matter their crimes." 1 year later, representatives from 27 species gathered on Nexus Station. The old council chamber had been rebuilt. Its circular design was now modified so that all seats were of equal height and prominence. There would be no high positions, no low positions. All species would meet as equals. At the center of the chamber stood a memorial, a flame that burned without consuming, surrounding a hologram of Jiho Kim. The eternal flame that had once been used for execution was now transformed into a symbol of remembrance and hope. President Min-Ho Lee and Admiral Taewan Choi represented Earth at this historic gathering. Admiral Kang, promoted after the battle, stood with his multi-species command staff. Sumin Park, appointed as Earth's new ambassador, called the first session of the Galactic Federation to order. "We gather not as rulers and subjects," she said, her voice carrying throughout the chamber, "but as equals united by common purpose. The flame before us serves as both memorial and promise, that justice burns eternal, and that no voice shall ever again be silenced by tyranny." The representatives rose in respect, not just for Ambassador Kim, but for what his sacrifice had achieved. The galaxy had been transformed. The Veldari Empire that had ruled for 8,000 years had fallen in less than 1 year, not through conquest, but through alliance. Not through fear, but through hope. In diplomatic archives across the galaxy, the human response became known as the most consequential, proportionate response in galactic history. They had come not seeking dominance, but bringing liberation. Not through conquest, but through alliance. And among the stars, the story spread of how the Galactic Council had burned a human diplomat alive, and humanity had responded by setting the galaxy free.